Okay, we're live.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. We're here as always doing our Monday noon product or health condition Zoom, but today we are doing a part 2 of drug-induced nutrient depletion. So if you've missed part 1, go back onto our YouTube channel and make sure you watch that because it gives also a big intro into what it is, and we talk about a different topic. But today we are addressing pain. Everybody experiences some sort of pain. It's inevitable. I mean, we whether we overdo our exercise or whether we just have a chronic injury or whatnot. But the goal is, or the goal for everybody, but really what I try to focus on is avoiding the pain by following an anti-inflammatory diet, by making sure I take my proper supplements, your daily essentials, your factor 4, things that are going to help decrease or the inflammation that can then lead to pain, as well as using our CBD pain cream should pain arise. My goal is to always avoid having to take NSAIDs, over-the-counter pain medicine, anything that when something creeps up, I try to manage it otherwise. But Ryan is here to tell you, should you be taking any of those pain medications, whether it be prescription or over-the-counter, what these kind of medications further deplete from your body when taking them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah. So today we're not going to discuss the merits of pain management. I mean, there are options for pain management. Most people fall into 2 categories, right? They're depending on the type of pain, the injury, whether it's acute, whether it's chronic, what it's caused from by, there's really 2 categories. You're going to be over the counter with, NSAIDs and Tylenol and some maybe topical / transdermals, or you're going to be on the prescription side, which also can include anti-inflammatory, so NSAIDs, and I use that, it stands for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. So, and then you also have opioids as well as some corticosteroid type related things, steroid related. So like Lisa said, she must be married or know a good pharmacist because she does her best to avoid turning to the NSAIDs and Tylenol and tries to rely on different alternatives and really tries to focus on it from a preventive perspective, because as you're going to learn today, although they might be effective at treating pain, they also come with some significant side effects, and one of which is drug-induced nutrient depletion. So like Lisa said, if you hadn't watched the first one 2 weeks ago, go back and watch it. But what that drug-induced nutrient depletion is basically saying is that certain vitamins and minerals become depleted when we consume some prescription or over-the-counter drugs. And that's the idea of, let's talk about that today a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll try to break it up and we'll take some questions throughout, but we're going to say, let's start with over-the-counter, which we all know Tylenol is a big hitter in over-the-counter. I think 60 million people weekly are using Tylenol to that effect. Yeah, it's a lot. And, they take it and what here's the problem in a lot of ways with Tylenol or acetaminophen, which is the active ingredient, is that it's in combination products, right? I mean, cold and flu and different things, and you'll look and you'll see acetaminophen in there. So people often are exceeding the daily limit of acetaminophen. Now, what that can mean is it has a negative effect on the liver. Really, it contributes a lot to oxidative stress. And if you had a chance, we also did a Zoom one time on, I think the greens or reds because they're so high in antioxidants, but we talked a lot about free radicals and oxidative stress. So really what that means is you're depleting glutathione. You're chewing up glutathione reserves. What is glutathione? That is the mother of all antioxidants. That's what we all work so hard to develop and have in our body. But as we age, we also make less and less of it. So glutathione is difficult. You can't necessarily just supplement with glutathione. There's a few on the market. If you guys have any questions regarding any of those supplements, I'm happy to opine on it. But for the most part, you just focus on sulfur-rich foods like cruciferous vegetables. N-acetylcysteine has been shown to be beneficial for glutathione. But really, it's about maintaining a healthy nutritional diet and eating foods high in phytonutrients and antioxidants. So eat the foods under the rainbow, as they say.
Right.
Yeah.
And what about the effects on I'm sure you're going to address this, but the effects on the gut?
Yeah, not as bad with Tylenol. We'll hear about that on the NSAIDs for sure here very, very soon. So let's stay on Tylenol and acetaminophen. We kind of made that intro. We know a lot of people use it. So glutathione is one to think about. Okay. And if it's not just glutathione, there's a lot of other antioxidants. So if you want to do this, in addition to your normal nutritional intake of foods, you can look for things like the organic super reds, the LiveGood organic super reds, the super greens. They're both packed with antioxidants. As a matter of fact, the factor 4, CoQ10, I mean, these are the supplements that you need to be focusing on for sure to build up those reserves. So in addition to glutathione, Tylenol can deplete melatonin, it can deplete zinc and DHEA. So keep those things in mind if you are using Tylenol on a regular basis, on a scheduled basis. Now, for most people, if you use Tylenol up to 4 grams one day every 6 months, maybe not as much to worry about. But if you're using a lot of Tylenol, especially if you're consuming alcohol, you are absolutely depleting your glutathione reserves and causing a lot of inflammation and a lot of challenge on the liver.
And isn't melatonin a very potent antioxidant as well?
Melatonin is a potent antioxidant.
So you're
yes.
right there, you're taking away your glutathione and your melatonin, or
Yep.
depleting them, which are huge on antioxidants. Not to mention,
Sure.
we need our melatonin to help regulate our sleep.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you start to see, you don't think you're doing anything that's going to affect your sleep, but
Sure.
maybe you are taking too much Tylenol. Maybe your melatonin's way
Right.
down. I mean,
Right.
simple little things that we don't think about that can really affect other parts of our life.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point, Lisa. Yeah, and then next up is the NSAIDs, so non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Those are your over-the-counter and prescription. So over-the-counter would be your ibuprofen, your naproxen, even aspirin can kind of fall into that category. Prescription-wise, you look at nabumetone, meloxicam, diclofenac. So these are all NSAIDs, and those NSAIDs are. I'm not going to, again, I don't want to go into the merit of the meds because they certainly work, right? But they have a lot of side effects associated with them. We know that they can cause gastric perforation. So anybody that's prone or subject to peptic ulcers or stomach ulcers should absolutely avoid NSAIDs because they can cause ulceration. There's actually a black box warning on it from the FDA due to the cardiovascular event risk. So stroke and heart attack because of the water retention and different things that it's doing. And then of course they're a little bit, they're hard on the kidneys. That's the, none of it's all that great. But as far as like depletion goes, I mean, and not to mention how many people are using NSAIDs, I'm trying to find the number. It's like 30 million a day or something like that. I mean, so it's a high number. It's the number one visit for people to go into a pharmacy for over the counter. They just want to run in and, get
Sure.
that. So, but of course, it certainly comes with risk. And we wanted to make that clear because I feel like a lot of people turn to NSAIDs.
Right. When not realizing there's so many other ways to decrease inflammation in the body, therefore decreasing your pain. It's just not like, again, we always look for that like quick fix, that quick pill.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was a weight loss pill that was like, would do everything, everybody would be taking it.
Sure.
So it's not about the quick fix. It's about really figuring out the root cause and treating that so we don't have this chronic episode of pain and have to chronically take some type of pain medication.
Yeah. Yeah. Aside from disrupting the gut, it can deplete folic acid, so B vitamin, zinc, melatonin, and DHEA as well. So
okay.
Yeah.
And you can get that folic acid from our multivitamins. Both of our multivitamins have methylated
sure.
folic acid.
Sure they do. Yep.
And they have the full B vitamin complex, but specifically Ryan's saying here that depletes folic acid in the multi.
Yeah. Yeah. Lisa, want to see if there's some questions on here before we move into prescription? Factor 4 is back in stock. Actually, it's
arriving.
It's arriving now, but I try not to answer too many current event questions on this because
Right.
this will be watched recorded over time. But
Right. Any questions that don't pertain to this, guys, just email me. We try to keep these calls for these Zooms just for specific questions.
Look at that question right there. So anonymous right here says the inflammation is the basis of cancer. We say inflammation is the basis of
all disease.
all chronic disease. Maybe not all, but the vast majority of chronic disease absolutely is out of control, unchecked, persistently elevated inflammation. Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's why you might think NSAIDs would be good, right? Anti-inflammatories, they should be good. They should cut down on it, but they do it through the wrong mechanism.
Right.
They're not addressing root cause.
Yeah. And we will continue to address this topic of drug-induced nutrient depletion, hitting on other topics, because I see one here about the pill.
Oh.
I'm assuming you're talking about birth control pill, but
that's
a great one that we
coming
will
up.
address.
Yeah, we're going to do that. Contraception, hormone replacement. We're going to do that as far as nutrient depletion as well. That's a big topic.
Okay.
Keep going. Is there anything done?
Oh, there we go.
Discuss NSAIDs, IBS, and malabsorption. Well, yeah, for sure. But that's not the topic of today's discussion. We're trying to focus on nutrient depletion. But yes, I mean, if you want to email me about all kind of my opinion on NSAIDs, that's fine. Absolutely. I'd be willing to talk with you about that. All right, cool. All right, let's move on to prescriptions. Right now, we're going to discuss more to do with corticosteroids. So a lot of people use corticosteroids. That's the prednisone. That's your methylprednisolone, which is like your Medrol dose pack. It could be your inhalers for asthma,
Right.
you know, and the list of side effects are long on steroids, but I'm not really trying to go into the side effect profiles as much because people should basically be aware of that if they're taking those meds. And at any given time, I think roughly 1% of the population is using a corticosteroid. So the numbers are significant, but the depletion of nutrients is also pretty significant. So there's calcium. There's CoQ10. So coenzyme Q10 is one that I preach a lot about, and it is actually in our factor 4. And I preach about it because most people don't realize the importance of CoQ10 and how often it can become depleted. It's a big player in the electron transport chain, which is our energy metabolism cycle. So, and then of course, you know, people at statin drugs and the depletion of CoQ10 from statin, which we did talk about in our last talk 2 weeks ago.
Think about the rollover of this. I mean, you had a lot. It was a lot of CoQ10 depletion.
Yeah, for sure.
In our call 2 weeks ago.
For sure.
And then this again. So think about if you're on blood pressure medication, you're on cholesterol medication, and then you have pain. So you take this, you take that. I mean, think about all the stuff that's doing to your body.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is a vicious cycle. It really, really is.
Yeah, and look again. It's like it's not the drug that's necessarily causing the harm. It's the depletion of the nutrient. So. Right. Keeping that in mind, if you're going to use these meds, just make sure that you're covering your bases that we talk about all the time.
Right.
And I'll come back at the end of there and say, look, Daily Essentials Pack covers almost everything. Add the factor 4, and then you can kind of go from there. Like we said, antioxidants in the greens and the reds.
Right.
Obviously, I recommend factor 4 on top of that. And then, of course, you can troubleshoot other things, muscle loss and different things that come along with mobility and that with protein and aminos. Anyway, all right. So we said calcium, we said CoQ10, folic acid, B6 and B12. Boom. There's a portion of your B complex that is actually in our multivitamin. If you look again, Lisa said earlier, methylated forms of folate as well as B12, so methylcobalamin, which means that for a lot of people they can't actually methylate properly. They have the MTHFR gene variant, which Lisa is one of them, and has trouble methylating. So it's an interruption to the natural cycle to where most people become deficient in certain vitamins and nutrients. And then of course the cascade continues. And so anyway, methylated vitamins are where it's at. Always try to focus on if you're taking the B12 or folic acid to be methylated, which they are in our multi. Mm-hmm. Vitamin E, vitamin D, both fat soluble vitamins. The vitamin D we did as a standalone with vitamin K2, but the vitamin E you can also find in our multivitamin. Trying to think what else. Oh, sure. Yeah. You have magnesium is depleted, DHEA, and as well as zinc. Okay. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch there. That's a whole bunch there.
Right. So, but again, like you said, there's your daily essentials pack. Like you've got to make sure you're taking this. You've got to make sure you're taking it every day.
Yeah. 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 And I think that's the key. I mean, we're going to go through and do a multi-part series on this today. Right now, we're literally just talking about the pain management stuff and trying to hit on the big ones. I'm not diving into opioids today. I'm not diving into some of the other higher potency pain management meds. If you have questions specifically on those, please feel free to reach out. We'll take questions one more time, and then we'll let you guys get back to your day.
Start at the bottom.
Yeah. So we are going to be talking about another category we'll talk about is thyroid. We're not doing that today. Because I see a question here on that. Gabapentin, yes. If you want to email me, I can absolutely comment on that. We didn't go into that today as much, that's obviously a neuropathic agent typically used for people with neuropathy, nerve pain.
Okay.
Also is, an anti-epileptic for early stage. I'm not going to cover disease states so much because we could really have a hard time keeping people's attention. But we're just trying to cover classes of meds.
Yeah. So, and again, always like simple little, if you have a specific question that's a kind of off topic, but related, email.
Sure.
Email. We'll get you the questions for sure.
All right, guys. Well, look, if you think I missed anything, please feel free to email. But like I just kind of said, I mean, you can cover a lot of your nutrient bases with this simple, and that's why we call our pack the Daily Essentials Pack. I mean, when you listen to these drug-induced nutrient depletion talks, you're going to see kind of a recurring theme. And a lot of them are essential vitamins and minerals, which means our body doesn't make them. So we need to supplement in addition. Go ahead.
Yeah, and always focusing on the preventative side. You guys know that I'm so big on this. And I say this over and over because this goes with like so many different topics. What do we need to do for this preventative medicine? Okay, we need to make sure we eliminate nutrient deficiencies with our Daily Essentials Pack. We need to make sure we calm down inflammation with our Factor 4. We need to make sure we increase our antioxidant load with our super greens and super reds. I mean, it is so full spectrum that doing all of this and continuing to do this and giving your body time to adjust, like these are not overnight fixes. You've got to stick with this. It is consistency. Okay, that's what it's all about, because we want to calm down that inflammation and we want to prevent any kind of pain coming up. Then you have to take something. And again, if you have to take something, go for it, but just know what it also is doing to your.
Oh, yeah. And also too, the pain cream, we did talk about that a lot last week. We also did the Zoom last week on the pain cream. Big fan of that. And please tune in and check that out if you have any more.
Right.
If you want to learn more.
And it's like try other things. If your lower back is hurting you, heat, ice, stretching, use the pain cream. Don't just run for the, over-the-counter pain medication.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of your day and a super productive week.
Awesome. All right, guys. Take care.